Am I the asshole for refusing to take my girlfriend home from a party after she embarrassed herself?
A coworker invited me to a housewarming party. He bought a really nice house with a large yard, a pool, and even a waterfall flowing into the pool.
I wouldn't say I'm necessarily friends with him, but we're friendly and make small talk when we see each other. We don't really hang out by ourselves. He's a nice guy, but we don't have too many interests.
He told me I can bring my girlfriend. At that party I knew about 3 out of the 40 people there. At the party my girlfriend began complaining to me about the food options, saying they don't follow her diet. She can't eat them. The host should have gotten better food. The paintings on the wall are tacky. His furniture sucks. That the music is pretty lame, and a bunch of other ridiculous complaints. We live in Sao Paulo at the moment, but we're from a region in southern Brazil where most people speak Hunsrück, which is a type of German, though it's a bit distinct from standard German. Someone from Germany wouldn't understand everything I say. She complained in Hunsrück, assuming that everyone at the party only knew Portuguese, but my coworker was near us and he said what I guess is standard German. I'm sorry, we don't have any food that fits your dietary restrictions. If you are hungry, there is a store about 400 meters from here. It closes in an hour.
I'm sorry, you don't appreciate the music selection. Would you like to play something?
My girlfriend looked shocked. Her jaw dropped and she just stuttered for a bit. A few people snicker in the back and another guy translates what happened and she responded back in Portuguese. How do you all know German?
I had no idea, and my coworker explains he and 3 other people in this party used to work in Germany and that's how they know each other. My girlfriend pulled me aside and said she's so embarrassed and wants to go home. I told her no. I'm having a good time here and she's begging me to bring her back, saying she's so embarrassed and she can't handle this, and I told her she shouldn't talk shit about people and she's getting what she deserved. This broke out into a screaming match. She demanded I give her the car keys and I refused.
We stayed at the party for another 2-3 hours. She talked to some other girls but was kind of quiet.
On the ride home we got into another argument where she says I should have taken her side, and I unleashed a lot of my frustration onto her, saying she is actually the one causing embarrassment by insulting my coworker. She blamed me for not telling her he speaks German. I told her that wasn't irrelevant and I never thought to bring it up. I honestly didn't know he spoke it that well. He just briefly mentioned living in Germany once at a meeting. So yeah, was I in the wrong here? Not the asshole.
At the end of the day, she did play a stupid game and won a befittingly stupid prize. At least it's just embarrassment, from the context provided. It doesn't seem like anyone else made a big deal about the things she said.
I don't think you should be obligated to take her side, being that she was the cause of the embarrassing moment. Also, saying rude things expecting nobody to be able to understand her makes her the asshole emo. You're not the asshole.
Your girlfriend is incredibly rude and hopefully taught herself an important lesson about talking smack and insulting her host. Or anyone else, for that matter. Better think about that little glimpse into your future if you choose to stay with that woman. Mostly this is just awkward for everyone else at the party. Having a screaming match at someone else's party is not cool.
Everyone sucks here. You should have left, out of decency.
Why didn't you just get her a cab? Did everyone at the party enjoy her company or the two of you yelling?
Esh.
Punishing her by making everyone else put up with her isn't fair to them.
I don't think either of you are getting another invitation.
Edit. I see that cabs are expensive and she wouldn't pay, but is that a reason to make everyone at the party put up with her? If I was the host, I'd be asking you both to leave.
I know I'm gonna get downvoted, but after carefully reading your comments, Ash. Sure, she was the asshole for her behavior, but you knew she couldn't leave without you, your car. So, for that, you were also the And I'm picking some major teach her a lesson vibes here, which is manipulative and abusive. You could have driven her and then returned to the party if you really wanted to stay that much. Do you even like her?
Not the asshole. Your girlfriend was a guest at someone's home warming party and complained about the food, the furnishings and the music.
She assumed people couldn't understand her and she was wrong. If she was embarrassed, it's her own fault for being rude and ungracious. Am I the asshole for allowing my ex-wife into my home? Early yesterday evening my ex-wife came to pick up our son from my home.
At the time my wife and I had a few visitors over for dinner.
The visitors included her sister and husband, but was mostly friends.
Usually my ex phones our son when she's downstairs. We live in an apartment building, and he goes down to meet her. Yesterday she called our son as usual, but asked him to ask me if she could come up because one of her younger kids needed to use the bathroom. I obviously said yes.
She came up with her 3 younger kids. She didn't know we had company, so apologized for interrupting, before taking the kids to the bathroom. On her way out, a couple of the guests stopped her for a quick chat. Friends have had since she and I were married, but it was only a few minutes. My son gave his little siblings some of the snacks that were out for guests.
After they left, my wife's sister was quick to call my ex rude for barging in. One of my friends replied to her saying something about small kids' bladders and nothing more was said about it. However, after everyone but my wife's sister had left, my wife and her sister started talking about it and both agreed that it was rude and tacky.
They couldn't believe she started talking to some of our friends.
When I objected, they said it was wrong of me to have let her in without asking my wife first. I said that's ridiculous. Later, my wife and I discussed it again and she said she found it embarrassing for me to just let her in like that.
I asked why, but she said I wouldn't understand. Am I really the asshole here? I was trying to do a normal nice thing, but now I feel bad about upsetting my wife. Not the asshole. The kid had to pee, you let them in. Your ex knew several of the people there.
They initiated a conversation with her.
Your son gave his sibs a snack. What a sweet kid.
Your current wife and her sister are being ridiculous.
And this is from a woman who also married a man with kids from a prior marriage, so I know about living with co-parenting.
There is nothing in what you described that was anything but kind, normal interactions. Not the asshole. Guess what? If you don't want to deal with your husband's ex, then don't marry a man who was married and had children. Problem solved.
However, if you do, be mature enough to handle it. You let your son's younger siblings use your bathroom. Of course she needed to go with them, she's their mom. It's not like you moved your ex in your house. What did they expect her to say? No, let them piss outside. Petty shit like that is disruptive to healthy co-parenting. You don't need that drama, and more importantly, your son doesn't need it. Tell your wife to grow the hell up and her sister to mind her own damn business. Not the asshole. What kind of lesson would you be teaching your son if you refuse to let the younger child in to use the bathroom? Your wife needs to rethink her values. Not the asshole.
The kid had to pee, for Christ's sake.
Never apologize for showing common politeness, simple decency, and normal hospitality.
Your wife and her sister are Oz.
Not the asshole. That's how co-parenting should be done.
Your son needs to know his mother is welcome in his home, especially when one of his siblings needs to use the toilet.
Your wife needs to chill. My father's partner did not want to see my mother either and pretty much ignored her if they did. When I became an adult, I gave her an ultimatum. Either she stopped being rude to my mother, or she no longer had a place in my life. I do, however, resent the fact that my father did not talk to her about it when I was little.
So, if you don't want any resentment from you kid, don't let your wife be a bitch too or about your ex-wife. Not the asshole. Sister-in-law is the asshole and wife is almost top.
When everyone has good manners, uncomfortable social situations can be managed with grace.
It is rude and tacky to show up at someone's home when they are hosting a party.
I am sure your ex was properly horrified. It just is not done. But kids have bladders, and using your restroom is preferable to the alternative.
This is a major social faux pas that should have been completely forgiven due to circumstances. Sister-in-law displayed incredibly bad manners by pointing the social error out and trying to make it a bigger thing than it ever should have been. That your wife does not allow exceptions for kids' bladders just looks bad, but compared to sister-in-law, your wife looks okay.
She at least did not make a fuss in front of guests. Edit. Change term for clarity. Am I the asshole for telling my sister-in-law I will not change my wedding date for her? Me and my fiancé recently got engaged and we are finding wedding date. The location we wanted to get married at only has limited availability for next year and we found a date in July. We found out a couple days ago that his sister-in-law is pregnant. My fiancé's sister-in-law is insisting that we change our wedding date because their child, who will be 5 months by then, won't have her second set of shots and refuses to attend unless we change the date. It turned into a whole argument and we feel like somehow this wedding is turning into something to accommodate them. Not the asshole. This is not about them. They don't get a vote. They can handle what they choose whatever way they want. So if you did it earlier and she goes on bed rest, would you have to change the date again? Or what if a child is sick?
Some people are just so self-important. Congrats on your engagement.
Not the asshole.
It's sad that she won't be able to attend, but it's your wedding, it isn't about her.
Perhaps you could send her some photos afterward.
Additionally, it's not like scheduling or rescheduling a wedding is something you can simply do on a whim.
I hope you have a fantastic wedding. Not the asshole. The location we wanted to get married at only has limited availability for next year.
You set your date based on that. You didn't even know sister-in-law was pregnant.
Keep your date. You can't accommodate everyone. Not the asshole. Did she consult with you too on when she should have sex?
No? That's what I thought. She can't dictate others to accommodate her.
Edit. Thank you to the anonymous user who gave me such a great award. Not the asshole.
Don't worry, it's a child-free wedding anyway.
Not the asshole, but FYI most babies get their second set of shots at 4 months. Am I the asshole to not wanting to hijack my BIL's honeymoon alongside my wife?
I, 28M, have been married to my wife, 27F, for 2 years now. Financially, we've both been struggling a bit in the past years, but our situation is mostly fine now, even though we still live a relatively modest life and we can't afford to casually go to expensive trips in other countries.
Even our honeymoon was only a trip to a beach from our country where we've been already, and even that costed us quite a lot.
My wife's older brother, 33M, is definitely much wealthier than us and is known for spoiling his now fiancée, 30F, with gifts and expensive trips. My wife definitely commented a couple of times on it, and I could feel she was secretly jealous about it. She and her brother are definitely very close to each other, and he helped us quite a bit during the times we were struggling financially, and he even allowed her to be a bridesmaid at his wedding, even though my wife and my BIL's fiancé aren't really close. Yesterday my brother-in-law announced in front of their family that he wants to reward his sister for putting so much effort into planning his wedding by full-on paying for both of us to go together with him and his fiancée on their honeymoon in Paris for a full week. Before I could say anything, my wife immediately accepted it and hugged her brother, but then his fiancée started going at him about inviting us to their honeymoon without discussing it with her beforehand, and my brother-in-law defended himself by saying he just wanted to help his sister experience something she can't do on her own. They were arguing when my wife suddenly intervened and told his brother's fiancé to stop acting like such an entitled brat, cause not everyone's as lucky as her to have a wealthy enough partner to support them. BIL's fiancé started yelling at my wife about how she's just a leech to her brother who took over her wedding and now wants to invade her honeymoon too. I eventually got my wife out of there, and on the way out I told her that maybe it'd be better for us to refuse going on my BIL's honeymoon as his fiancé's clearly uncomfortable with it. She asked me if I was an idiot for wanting to pass up a trip to Paris for free, that she worked way too hard to convince her brother to invite us for her to back up from it now. I told her that maybe she can arrange something else for us, and I don't want to be the reason a marriage falls apart, but my wife told me their marriage is not our business but theirs, and if it falls apart it'd be only my BIL's fiancé's fault. I told my wife I want no part in this and I won't be going on this shared honeymoon. And she started arguing with me about how she can't believe I'll act this way when she only did this for us, and said that she'll take her brother's offer without me if she has to. We ended up sleeping in different beds, and even today's my wife's still giving me the cold shoulder.
So am I the asshole for my refusal? Not the asshole.
You're right that this situation is wrong and your wife is acting aggressive and strange to you and her future Sil.
A honeymoon is for the bride and groom. Sit everyone down, thank your bill. Apologize to your BIL's fiancé, if your wife refuses to do so, and suggest to go on a 4-person trip sometime after their honeymoon.
What the hell did I just read?
Not the asshole. I'm really baffled that your brother-in-law would announce that without consulting his bride, and that your wife would accept even though it upsets the bride whose happiness and comfort matters most alongside the groom's on AF honeymoon. I told my wife I want no part of it. Very smart. What kind of vacation is this going to be?
You are either traveling with a very icy couple or a freshly separated Bill. There is no way this would be fun for anyone. You can't force your wife to reject the gift obviously, but for your own sake, you shouldn't go.
Not the asshole.
Why not suggest that you two go at a different time?
Info. Just how much involvement did your wife have in the wedding planning? Did the bride have all to say? Not the asshole, your wife is showing a really ugly side of herself.
There's no way that, underneath, she doesn't know that what she is doing is wrong. She is in full-on denial because she both wants to exploit her brother and doesn't want to feel bad about herself. Which means that she has to tell herself that what she is doing is just fine and that anyone opposing her or getting in her way is the asshole that means sister-in-law and now you.
Not the asshole. She had to work hard to convince her brother to take her on his honeymoon?
What the fuck is wrong with her? Your wife is acting like a spoiled, selfish brat and her brother is either stupid or spineless for giving in to her. Think you and your sister-in-law both need to think long and hard about what your futures are going to look like.